Gonna show you how to set up Bitbucket Pipeline CI integration with Terraspace Cloud. And to do that, we're gonna click on Docs right there, and under Docs is under CI/CD and Bitbucket. So we're gonna go through all these steps. The first step is prerequisites right here. So there are kind of three prerequisites here. The first one is you need a Git repository on Bitbucket. So I've already pushed a repository on Bitbucket right here. So you can see it's a repository on Bitbucket. And I also have a clone down here locally here. And I'm just gonna take a look real quick at app stacks demo main.tf. And just to show you what we're going to deploy, we're going to deploy essentially a random pet with keepers foo equals bar1. Okay, so very simple just for testing here. So the next step in this list here is we want to make sure that the Terraspace CI Bitbucket gem is actually configured for the project. You do that by checking the gem file and making sure that this line exists right here, okay? You might also want to check out the version. So you can go bundle info and then the gen name to check out the version. The more important version check is actually the Terraspace version, because you need at least Terraspace major version 2 in order for the CI plugins to work. It was added in version 2, okay? Support was added in version 2. So that looks pretty good. Now configure Terraspace Cloud. So to do that, we're gonna go check on config, then app.rb. And you see here, config cloud.org is demo, okay? So in the example, I believe is bolt ops here, but your org's gonna be different, okay? Whatever your org is on Terraspace Cloud, here app demo, but whatever your org is, that's what you have to configure it for, okay? So now all those three prerequisites look great, okay? So I think we're ready to move on. Next page. Next page, now you get to run the Terraspace new CI command, which is pretty neat. The reason why this command is able to actually generate some starting pipeline code is because this gem right here, Terraspace CI Bitbucket, actually provides some templates actually that are starter templates. So when I ran that command, you can see what happened was it generated some files. You can generate this Bitbucket bin Terraspace, so some bin wrapper files. And the important one I was actually looking for is Bitbucket pipelines YML right here. It generated that one. So basically that kind of came all for free here, and it's actually all working pipelines. Okay. Another kind of thing that I think I want to review here is this bin install right here. Okay, so bin install, it's under bit.bitbucket bin. That's going to install, looks like TFEMV, so a version manager for Terraform, and then it's going to install the latest version Terraform. But if you have specific versions you want to use, then you can pin it down all here. This is just like a good starter template, okay? And then you want to customize it for your needs. Then it's installed Terraspace by running bundle. And the reason why that installs Terraspace is because your gem file has Terraspace here and it's pinned, okay? So this is how you pin versions with Terraspace projects. So that's going to install our Terraspace dependency. And then the next file that I want to take a look at was the Terraspace wrapper itself. So there's basically a .bitbucket bin Terraspace wrapper here. And then what it does is, all it really does is set the path, because I found that the big Bitbucket pipeline environment doesn't always have user local bin in the path. So instead of basically having to write that over and over and over, I wrote this wrapper script. This wrapper script uses this notation $sign @ to delegate actually the arguments from the calling command. So let's take a look at Bitbucket pipeline right here. You can see here's the wrapper script right being called, and here are the arguments. So basically up demo -y is going to be replacing this $@. Okay, so that's how kind of this pipeline kind of works right here. Basically, it's a branch pipeline. That's what Bitbucket calls it, or a push workflow here. So basically, whenever a commit is pushed to main, it's going to run the main pipeline here, and it's going to run two commands: install and then Terraspace up right here. Okay, and that's kind of the main kind of pipeline. And I think what I kind of did was actually I reviewed the first kind of pipeline, because the way Bitbucket pipelines work is all your pipelines are defined in this one file. That's why it's plural pipelines. And then a Bitbucket, the runner system, or their CI system, will read this file and then basically build or create different pipelines based on the configuration here. And the starter YML file has three different pipelines. What's called a branch pipeline, which is gonna run the pipeline when you push commits to a certain branch, okay? And then there's also a pull request pipeline, which we'll review shortly. That gets triggered on a pull request, and then also a custom manual pipeline. And that pipeline is very useful if you want a little more manual control when you want to run that job, okay? So let's actually look at this next page here, and I kind of reviewed it already, but pretty much this documentation is talking about the push workflow, which is what Bitbucket is going to refer to as the branch pipeline. And it's just pointing out the relevant sections. It's going to use the Docker image Ruby latest, so it's going to have Ruby installed already. Then here's the definition for the pipelines for branches, and here it's just saying it's going to trigger only on the main branch, okay? And then it's going to call two simple scripts: the install script, which I reviewed already, and it's right here again for a review. and then the bin Terraspace wrapper, which is called plan demo right here. And you can see that it's going to basically call this wrapper script and pass those arguments down here. Now next, this is important, is environmental variables. You do need to configure for Bitbucket pipelines environmental variables. Now this example in the documentation is covering AWS here, but if you have a different cloud provider, then you should configure credentials for your cloud provider like Google or Azure here. Now one interesting thing I'm going to point out is when we generated this pipelines right here, it actually was it actually generated this branches right here that we're reviewing, okay? And it generated again because the template is in the CI actually plugin here, okay? So that's how it kind of figures out, okay? Next is TS token. So I configure a lot of these variables already, except for TS token. I save one just so you can see how it's configured. Basically, you have to go down here to repository settings. Then you go to the bottom here under the pipeline section and then repository variables. And you can see some of the variables are kind of configured, except TS tokens not yet. So we're gonna actually go create a new token right here under my profile here, under tokens, and we're gonna call it tests, okay? And we're gonna click generate new API token, and then we're gonna grab it. Oh, let me grab the TS here, and then put in my copy buffer. Now I'm gonna just add it here, TS token, and save it there, and then paste it there, and then it's gonna be secure. So secure basically means it's not gonna show up in the CI build logs. And the reason why I don't like AWS region being secure here, because I actually like that showing up, so it makes it a little easier to debug. But these other values are definitely should be secure. Okay, so now we've configured the kind of the last environmental variable we kind of needed. And that's all that's kind of needed, because all these environmental variables are just made available automatically with Bitbucket, which is kind of nice. Okay, let's go back to review this here. That looks like the variables, a screenshot of variables, which we just set. And now we're basically ready to commit our changes, okay? So let's go ahead and go do the status first so you can see the files that were generated. And then now we'll do git add dot and then git commit add CI, okay? Now if I push to the main branch here, okay? What I expect is, according to this, is I expect the main branch to run Bitbucket bin install and then Terraspace up demo, okay? So let's actually go take a look at that. Back over here, we have to click on back, and then under right here, pipelines, you're gonna see that the pipeline has started already. So it's in progress, so you can click here, in progress, you even click here, and it's gonna take you to the pipeline, kind of the log here. Okay, so it's running the first step right now, Bitbucket bin install. So again, what that's doing is calling that that generator supporting install script that installs tf-env, and then it's gonna install the latest version of Terraform here. And then after that, it's gonna run bundle to install Terraspace and the version that's pinned down in your project and all that. Okay, so it's actually just going through the install right now. It just finished the install, it took about 23 seconds or so, and now it's running Terraspace up demo right here. And with this Terraspace up demo, you can see what it's gonna do is it's gonna create a random pet resource. And then here, sometimes with Bitbucket, notice that it's not gonna kind of show that URL yet. So you sometimes have to refresh. There it is. Here's the app Terraspace cloud link here, and let me actually close this one down, and this is the one just opened up. Now you can see the same logs are written to basically Terraspace cloud. Okay, so Terraspace cloud, if you click on updates here, you can see the updates right here. You can see if you click on details, it just takes you back to logs. You go back to updates, and then this is the git SHA link, so it's actually linked you directly to the SHA that we committed, add CI. You see, that's pretty useful. And then also it links you to the branch actually, so the Bitbucket branch itself. You see, branch main. Okay, so that's kind of working right now. We basically have tested it, and we've caught up to the screenshot right here in the documentation. Okay, so the next is we're going to look at pull request pipeline. So here's the relevant section of Bitbucket pipelines YML. It's just using the same Ruby image here, and then basically the notation is pipelines, pull requests, and then this star notation to say any branch for any PR run basically this, which is where it's going to run an installer, and then basically it's run a Terraspace plan. So because it's like a PR, it's a proposed changes, okay? Then here is talking about creating a branch and creating the PR, and there's some screenshots on how to create the PR, and then the login details. So we're going to actually just run through all this now. So in order to create a PR, I'm going to have to create a branch. So I'm creating a feature branch there. Then I'm going to actually have to change some code, okay? So change this bar 1 to bar 2 right there. Then I'm going to add that and commit it, and I'm going to go update random pet. random pet, and then I'm gonna go and push that to the feature branch, origin feature, okay? So that pushes it to the feature branch, and it's gonna also spit out this nice link that's gonna allow us to create a pull request very easily. So I'm gonna go ahead and paste that into the browser here. And now it's just basically, here's the form for the PR. I'm gonna go down here and click on diff so you can see the change. I changed this from bar 1 to bar 2. So now I'm gonna click create pull request. So that creates the pull request. And with the pull request, remember what we're expecting is to run another pipeline, okay? Because of Bitbucket pipelines right here, this pull request right here. So it's gonna install and then do a plan. So where is it? We're gonna go click on pipelines right here, and you're gonna see this is the first push basically workflow, the branch pipeline, and this is the pull request actually pipeline right here. So if we click on this, you're gonna see it's doing the install phase right now. It's about 10 seconds into it, so it should be almost done installing. And then it's gonna do, we expect to do a Terraspace plan here, okay? So just in a couple minutes here or moments, it's going to be on the plan stage shortly. There's about 24 seconds, 25 seconds there. Here's the plan stage. So here's the plan stage, okay? And once the plan stage is kind of done right here, you're gonna see, okay, it's basically gonna do a kind of force replacement here. Now I'm gonna go back here, I'm gonna click on updates right here, and you're gonna see, here's the update right here with the details. Basically, I was just kind of push over, and here's the SHA commit, and here's also the branch, is the feature branch this time. And here's also, interestingly, the PR, actually. So it actually links to PR right here, okay? So that's pretty nice, okay? Next is going back here and reviewing this. So basically, it did a plan. So basically, we're done with that. Click next page. Okay. So the last pipeline that was generated is the manual custom pipeline. So manual pipeline is useful if you want a little more control over, let's say, the when the pipeline runs. And in this case, what we're kind of doing is we're actually allowing the TSENV to default to prod here. Okay. So kind of the idea here is, you know, you run on dev automatically, but on prod you want a little more manual control here, okay? And again, this is just a starter example. You can customize it for your needs, but I think this is actually a pretty good example too. Here's basically the instructions how to run the pipeline. Essentially, you just run the click the run pipeline button, and then you can fill out a form actually, and you can fill out some values, okay? So we're gonna go through that soon. Then it's just talking about right here that once this pipeline runs, there's actually 2 steps to it. Look, there's basically a plan phase and then a up phase, and there's a trigger manual. So that trigger manual is actually looking here. Basically, this is gonna block the next step from running. So basically, you have manual control over continuing, and then you basically, you're the one who approves it, okay? So let's go ahead and kick this off now. So let's go back to pipelines here, okay? And then you just click on this run pipeline button right here. And now you can select the branch. We're gonna select main, and then we're gonna see branches main right there, and then we're gonna see custom Terraspace. That's what we're looking for. And here's the drop down. You could go dev or prod, but I'm gonna do prod here. So first thing it's gonna do is gonna run the plan stage or step, and then after that, it's gonna actually block and wait for approval here, okay? So it's doing the first stage right now where it's kind of queuing up the plan. Soon we're gonna see basically the plan being queued up, and this is for the prod environment. So I actually should show this before it kind of gets created. Right now there's only demo dev, but soon once the plan's kind of done, you're gonna see demo prod here also, okay? So it's kind of doing the install phase right now, and that's been taking about 25 seconds or so. Overall, it takes less than a minute, so it's actually pretty fast on Bitbucket pipelines here. Okay, so we're about 10 seconds into it. This should finish shortly once it's kind of done installing, and then it's gonna run Terraspace plan like we expect. We see it right there, okay? So there's the Terraspace plan, and I'm just kind of waiting for it right now, because once it gets to that stage right here, it's gonna block it. See, it says waiting. So that's kind of really interesting right there, okay? And sometimes with Bitbucket, you kind of have to refresh here, okay? And then you see the Terraspace cloud link, okay? So I'm gonna click on that, and you're gonna see the Terraspace cloud link right there. And right here, updates, you can see it's basically saying it's gonna run prod and it's gonna create that resource. And if you click on updates, you can go back and you can see the plans now. And notice this is demo prod. So I'm gonna click on stacks here and you see the demo prod. All we have right now is a plan on prod, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to this pipeline and I actually click run, and that actually continues it. That's how you approve it with the way Bitbucket has set up their pipelines, okay? It's a pretty, actually pretty good interface here. Okay, so it's actually, you can see the plan right here, and then you get really apply the plan right there by clicking that run button. Now it's gonna go through the, again, the install phase, and then it's gonna actually run to the Terraspace up right here. You see, and that's basically it's doing the same thing. And this is why there are some supporting scripts here. It keeps this nice and kind of dry. Okay, and very short. I mean, this whole pipeline's YML file is only like 38 lines, so that's really nice and concise. Okay, so it's kind of doing the build phase right now. We're about 11 seconds into it, so I think it's been taking about 25 seconds, so that should be finished soon. There, it finished at 26 seconds. And now it's doing the Terraspace up, and of course it's doing on prod this time, okay? So there it is, it's going to go on prod, okay? And it's going to be finishing that very shortly. So that's done now. If I go back over to updates, I click on this plan has been applied essentially. And it's been updated, and you can see the details here. You click on that, and you can see all the details here. It's the same log that you're seeing in the CI system there, okay? So that's pretty much it. I'm going to show you the pipelines again. So this was the push, this was the pull request, and then this was the manual one, those custom pipeline that we kind of trigger, okay, with the kind of approval, the blocking, the waiting approval step. So let's go back and review what we've done here. These are just screenshots of what we just kind of went through. Okay, so what we did was we set up Bitbucket CI integration with Terraspace Cloud. And we did that by using Terraspace new CI that generated basically a Bitbucket -pipelines YML file that has kind of pretty much starting working 3 pipelines: a pull request pipeline, a push pipeline, and or branch pipeline. They call it branch pipelines, and a manual custom kind of pipeline there that you could configure through the web. It's just nice when you need a little more control there. But that's pretty much it. I also showed you that the links to Terraspace Cloud are actually added to the process and everything, so you can kind of see it. But I think it's actually very easy. It's easier to actually, I think, see it all from here. And then once you have more updates, let's like demo here, you have more plans, especially for multiple engineers, then you can see this actually very clearly, especially if like different people working on the same stack and all that kind of stuff. Okay, but that's how you integrate Terraspace Cloud and Bitbucket pipelines. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. Cheers.